You ruled the tower for 50 years, hiding in the dark while no one else dared to challenge your power. To stay low, you even wore a cheap 1-cent mask to hide your face. After crashing and dying, you wake up 20 years later, trapped inside the body of a complete loser. And the best part is the locals treat you like a god. So let's rewind to the moment the 8th floor collapsed. Absolute chaos broke out in the empty rooms of the 8th floor. His heart pounded so hard he could hear every beat echoing under his rushing footsteps. Soldiers marched in perfect lockstep right behind Kazuki. He stops dead and waves his squad forward. And with a face as cold as ice, Kazuki declares, "Today we pull off the impossible by taking down the Guardian on the 8th floor. So don't slack off just because this is a team mission. Unless we scrub this place clean, the 9th floor will remain a legend forever." In an instant, the soldiers split apart, clearing a way forward. Kazuki narrowed his eyes, wondering just who had finally shown up. As Kazuki spots the crew coming closer, he realizes it's the Blue Eyes Guild. At the front of the group walks a man who hides his face behind a famous mask. He flashes his trademark grin, then strolls over to chat with Subaru, who politely apologizes for keeping everyone waiting, only to be met by Kazuki's smirk and a claim that Subaru was actually the first to arrive, prompting Subaru to scoff at the idea that the martial arts squad only wants the scraps Subaru leave behind, which immediately snaps Subaru into action as he grips his sword and warns them that he has something special right here for them. He shoves a glowing object into Kazuki's hand, and a status window springs open to reveal the Archangel's blessing. Kazuki is totally confused until Subaru explains that while he plans to clear the raid perfectly, this item is just a backup he wants Kazuki to hold on to, and though Kazuki hesitates, Subaru insists that Kazuki needs it much more than he does. Subaru swerves in front of him, and besides, do you really plan to return to Blue Eyes after this fight? Subaru says, "You can give it back to me then," and in that moment, Kazuki feels a wave of sadness wash over him. Subaru pats his shoulder to comfort him, saying, "If you don't want to give it back, keep it forever. The choice is yours," right before a deafening boom shatters the air and makes them both snap their heads toward the sound. Subaru shouts that the thing is coming, and Kazuki is terrified because it is showing up way too soon. Just before the epic battle begins, everyone gathers together as the 8th floor guardian, Kazuki, shouts for them to brace themselves for the crash. Suddenly, the deadly poison dragon Hydra appears with writhing heads and attacks the squad. Subaru gazes up at the terrifying monster, shakes his head with a weary sigh, and mutters, "What a hideous freak." Dark energy swallows Subaru's hand, making my skin crawl. A sharp ping flashes as a bolt of lightning shoots straight through Subaru's whole body. His voice dips to an icy chill as he delivers the news. "Today is your final day." The poison dragon Hydra glares sideways at Subaru. Suddenly, the heads scream together, gathering power to fire a giant green ball of destruction. Kazuki panics and shouts orders to unleash a breath attack, forcing everyone to back away except Subaru, who stands his ground because it isn't necessary. As the monsters run wild and Kazuki shouts in shock, the Hydra fuses its strength into a roar that cracks the sky. In an instant, Subaru grabs his sword and leaps into action. Subaru slices through nothing but air, tearing a wild river of dark power loose. The good and the evil clash head-on like two giant tides crashing together. Kazuki watches a ruck, shaking his head at Subaru, who just smiles. "You never change, do you?" Chino skips the hype and calls you a beast, Subaru, saying your training is real, while Seeger rubs his neck in regret for being too slow to land the first hit. Vina looks up and asks what Subaru just gave Kazuki, and though Subaru's answer is a mystery, you'll find out the truth soon. He glances around to see if everyone is ready. "We're going to kill this giant lizard and clear floor 8 right now." So the whole squad runs at the monster while Kazuki stays back alone. He watches them with no care, staring at that united group. All of a sudden, a voice whispers from behind, just as planned, and hidden soldiers step out from the shadows to get into place while Kazuki turns with a cold smile and says, "Perfect. Let's get this started." The mystery figure chuckled as he finally took the bait, whispering, "Hope luck is on your side, kid." While Kazuki turned to stare at the battlefield with eyes as cold as ice, watching everything happen without a single flicker of feeling. Her figure seemed so weak against the raging storm, while her hair whipped around wildly like a banner in the wind. The squad moved together like one to attack the beast, but the poison dragon snapped right back, opening its glowing red eyes and ripping its jaw wide to spit out a huge stream of lightning. That monster looked like a nightmare with teeth, yet Vina didn't even flinch. She rushed straight into the deadly danger while Saigon screamed in the madness. "Yo, here's a heads up before you go wild." It would be nice right then as she glanced back to see a blade flashing in the light, and Rina scoffed. He barked back, refusing to admit that he could never quite keep up with my style. Some guys look cool and take wild risks without thinking. Keep your eyes on the danger behind you. Isaac grinned and dove into the fight, challenging Tusha to a wager to see who could deal the most damage. As a crimson light bathed the arena and the beast howled in pain, Tusha grunted and challenged his opponents to a fierce sword fight, daring them to fight dirty or by dinner. As the giant crashed down, Isaac yelled, "My bad, Chino," and flared her power while shouting back, "Don't worry about me, just keep attacking," before Chino summoned a massive barrier to shield them and take the hits so she could focus on dealing damage. That's when Kazuki emerged from the shadows behind her, his voice a deadly whisper. "Chino, do you truly think you can stop this?" Before she could even blink, the strike landed with zero defense. Kazuki's voice was freezing cold, showing just how much arrogance can cost you. Subaru felt the change at once, spun around, and a sharp gasp filled the air. Subaru crashed onto the dirt, but seeing him stand there with a creepy grin made Subaru's blood run cold, and his rage burst out so hard his veins bulged like he was about to snap. Kazuki mocked him, but Subaru's eyes locked on the prize, refusing to even glance away. Right then, the poison dragon was breathing down his neck. Subaru's voice broke with raw betrayal, screaming out, "Kazuki, why?" Then the world went dark, the system screen flickered to life, and you were told that the tower has picked you to start your climb, and that the lesson is starting right now. A message flashed on every player's screen, marking the tower's first command, but nobody knows who sent it, why, or what it truly meant, so we just followed the orders. An order we had to obey, so we kicked off the hard climb toward a peak no one in the world had ever touched. On Earth Murim, warriors from every dimension who carry their own burdens continue their climb today. The sky was no longer blue, but a choking fog of dust and smoke, while the frozen ground was covered in the dead bodies of the poison dragons, marking a battle won at the terrible price of the heroes' lives. Subaru gasped for air as his lungs burned from the cold on floor 8, where he faced the red dragon Hydra in the boss room, his voice trembling with grief and resentment because he had told everyone to run, but no one listened. And while they finally killed the unkillable beast, the cost was far too high. Subaru looked at his fallen squad while choking back tears, whispering that he never gave them permission to die. As his brothers in arms vanished, he let out a scream of pure agony and cursed them as fools. The system alarm screamed nonstop because the status was poisoned and natural recovery was switched off. With his fatigue so high that death was just around the corner, Subaru knew exactly what the cruel system would say if he tried to go back. The classic Subaru Narukami, known as the Thunder King, roars with power. He looked at the traitor and whispered, "You, why did you do this?" Then, seeing that smirk again, Subaru shouted, "Answer me, Kazuki Kyojo." Kazuki stood up and leaned right in front of him, saying, "It's been 10 years, Subaru. I've been chasing this moment for a decade. Everyone needs to understand. This is the only way I could beat you. Without that distraction, your blue eyes would have seen right through me. And since your gifts torture me so much, I chose the world over you." He forced the words out. "That's all there is to it. It feels bad to stop here, but at least I'll get to watch the final chapter. Oh, right. I suppose I don't need to give this back since your blue eyes will fade away with you anyway. So don't look so sad because even though you're gone now, the world will still remember you as a hero." Subaru's voice dropped to a growl until the bitter end, but you only hear what you want to hear as he fights to keep it together while clawing at the dirt. Subaru stared at the nightmare before him, his mind racing as his focus sharpened, knowing it wasn't over and that even though he was done for, he wouldn't go down without fighting back. Kazuki spun his head around, his eyes huge with sheer fear. "No way," he screamed just as the system interface glitched open to reveal the legendary rank Aeolus counter. For Subaru's surged forward with a fierce roar, proving they still had power despite my doubts. So keep guessing while the trash system confirms it. He did the quick math and found he had exactly 4 shots left in the chamber for the 4 blue-eyed men still breathing. He let loose a fury of destruction, all while hoping his team could survive the chaos. Kazuki roared out commands, his face straining with the effort, as a lackey signaled the charge toward the massive battlefield where a giant magical fan stood in the center. Blood trickled down Subaru's chin as he screamed, "Oh no, you don't," while raising a hand to unleash raw energy as he realized ULT was trapped with Emmy, their status alert blinking and his fatigue running dangerously high. Fatigue surged to 95, and the Thunder King's armor was finally breaking down. It didn't matter because Subaru pulled the trigger on his full power and his special skill activated. The enemy laughed and said, "You really don't know when to quit." His body was falling apart as exhaustion finally struck 96. His voice turned as cold as ice, and he warned that no one would leave the circle until he gave the order, hoping the payout Kyojo promised the traitors was worth the cost of their lives. The enemy squad paused, sweat trickling down their faces, then decided they had enough and charged at him with blades raised, ready to strike for the kill. Any other day, these clowns wouldn't stand a chance, Subaru thought as he spun his weapon with a tight grip. But he knew that if Kazuki jumped in, he'd be in big trouble. Just shoveling this feed is wearing me out. My tiredness meter is the real problem, he thought frantically as he realized he couldn't keep going. A split-second lapse in focus, and bam, you've been stabbed from behind. Subaru winced and coughed up a huge spray of blood. The system warned that Subaru was running on empty at 98% fatigue, so he spun his broken car around to fight back in the bloody, torn-up battlefield. Light washed over the bloody mess while his legs turned heavy as lead and his sword fell to the ground. Kazuki went absolutely crazy with joy because we finally did it and killed Subaru Narukami. But suddenly, Subaru was right in his face, whispering, "You killed who exactly?" as his body erupted in a massive surge of lightning that fried the goon instantly, leaving his eyes rolling back into his skull. As the smoke faded, Subaru sank to the ground, his hand tight around a blade that had pierced his own stomach. His legs gave out as he collapsed to his knees, completely drained. He went down and someone shouted out, so now everyone is wondering if it's finally over. Kazuki stood behind his minions and watched the monster. Subaru can't believe he got out of there so easily. The system screams of alarm fatigue at 99, warning that death is imminent if it hits 100. Subaru's mind wandered until Kazuki, who should know better, let his legs give out just as Subaru suddenly roared, "Incoming!" with eyes burning with pure vengeance and a heart set on winning. He might have been planning my eulogy, but the Archangel's blessing is the ticket that lets me escape. Kazuki's jaw hit the floor, and his eyes bulged in horror as Subaru's blade was already flying right at his face before he could even blink, which was just impossible. Kazuki gasped, mocking me as I dropped a one-liner while looking like roadkill, but honestly, I just wanted to see his lights go out before mine did, and now that my final flash connected, I'm stuck wondering if dying feels like this or if I'll be trapped in this limbo forever. This is pure torture, but wait, what's that funk I can actually smell? Could it be? Clang! A metal lid slammed onto the ground. Subaru sat in the dumpster, surrounded by trash. He spun around, looking so confused he thought he must be in hell. A hologram suddenly appeared, revealing a man named Subaru Hasoi from Earth. He stopped dead in his tracks, staring at Subaru with shock because those terrible stats and that name made no sense for this face, and the Earth just felt like a total disaster. People started whispering, "Yo, look at this bum hanging out here to make us look good," realizing instantly that Subaru Narukami was an anomaly and wondering if his power was really only at 50% of what it was 20 years ago. 20 years have passed since Subaru Narukami died, yet here he crawls out of a dumpster in a daze, leaving us to wonder if this is some kind of glitch. Bam! He face plants onto the hard concrete, and a sharp wave of pain shoots through him. Subaru stared at the object before him with a look of disbelief, then snatched up the player gear, his fingers flying across the interface as muscle memory took over to hunt for the blue eye. When a system pings the blue zone and reveals this new power is too weak to last, it begs the question, what dark secret hides behind this tag of the blue eye successor? The blue zone is blooming with the strength of Subaru, Narukami, and the blue eye, and today Guildmaster Kyojo is here to lead us to victory in the next tournament. They're talking about the spirit of the blue eye from 20 years ago, and Subaru stares at the screen in shock because the man on it isn't dead. Looking so familiar, it brings back the memory of their old conversation where he told him he was quitting the team. Subaru frowned at the sudden request from Kazuki, who asked him to tell their friends about his proposal. A strange favor for people he only thought of as friends, with a lowered voice promising that the reason would make sense soon. "Don't worry. Even after I'm gone, I'll always watch over you like a shadow." Years later, Kazuki launched his own guild and returned using the silly nickname you two used to joke about, Blue Zone. That's the shadow he mentioned. Yet he's still stuck on the 9th floor after 20 years with no progress, and suddenly Subaru freezes as the bulletin board explodes with news of a memorial service for him at the Subaru Narukami Memorial Hall, where memories that haven't faded in 2 decades make him jolt in shock and stand stunned before the entrance. Realizing the building is far more impressive than he expected with a mass displayed like a holy relic on center stage. The crowd leans in, eyes glued to the screen. Subaru stands there completely confused, stumbling forward with heavy steps while darting his eyes around in a panic. A booming voice cuts through his pounding headache to reveal he is the blueprint for us all, the hero of the Blue-Eyed Guild, the creator of the undefeated legend, the man closest to the tower's peak, Subaru Narukami. My squad, and I will carry his memory in our hearts forever. Subaru's eyes go wide with horror as you say, "You got to be kidding me." Kazuki's voice rings out across the hall we built just to keep our memories alive. Subaru's neck veins are bulging with rage, and the voice keeps talking to you, Kazuki. Narukami and the Blue Eye are gone, but the Blue Zone is still here. We carry their brave spirit. Yet Subaru grips his fist tight and screams in his heart, telling himself to shut up and stop hearing the cruel words that say killing him wasn't enough, now that he must live up to their twisted expectations. The sermon stretches on forever. Narukami and the blue-eyed one are gone for good, but Subaru stares hard and mutters, "Just you wait, Kazuki." Those fake eyes staring back from the screen will stay burned into our minds forever. His mind fights back against that story, but I'm tearing it up and writing a brand new one from the ground up. Subaru looks up at the sky with a plan forming. He is not letting him pull this trick again. I am making the most of this second chance at life. Suddenly, something grabs his ankle, causing Subaru to catch the stumbling figure and shake it until the person looks up, making Subaru freeze in shock as he realizes it's his own mask. Two people rush in to check on Minato, telling him not to worry about the minor crash as Subaru spins out of control. Subaru spins around in a panic, wondering what on earth is happening. He rubs his eyes over and over again, unable to stop. Eyes wide with terror, they whisper, "What awful nightmare is this?" Everyone around him is wearing his face from his past life, and he doesn't know what is happening. Kazuki's voice drops to a chill tone, though he sighs that things have come to this, promising not to be sad because you will be remembered as a legendary hero even in death. A sudden realization hits. This is his game, and Subaru's eyes harden with pure hatred. Kyojo Subaru marches angrily through the crowd. Straight ahead lies his own funeral portrait, drowning in fresh tears, a cruel trick to steal the glory of the blue-eyed girl, until his gaze shifts from hate to pure shock. Those white chrysanthemums are glowing with a blue light. Subaru's eyes roll back, showing the view right before her. The crowd pushed him hard, and annoyed people yelled for him to stop, but Subaru just acted like a zombie and walked straight to his own portrait before touching the glowing light. Subaru whispered in total shock, "Is that really you?" And then the view cut to a high-angle shot of a rooftop where a figure stood looking out over the city. Sigurd shattered the quiet, saying they'd made it through another year, but the woman behind him shot back that if they'd waited just a bit longer, they'd have been fighting blue-eyed trouble by now. But really, is all this fuss needed? Just leaving a few chrysanthemums on every anniversary should be plenty. He took off his hat with a gentle smile, saying softly that you never know what might happen. She laughed off the idea that Subaru might notice the flowers we left. "You really think that kid is still alive?" Sigurd asked. "I haven't seen his body with my own eyes yet." Rina snapped back, "Because if we're not the ones finding Subaru, Kazuki is going to track us down way too fast. Look, if Subaru were actually alive, he wouldn't have sat there watching everything burn for 20 years. You idiot." The golden hour warmed the sky while birds circled overhead. The scene shifts to Subaru huddled in a corner, breaking down and crying like a child who has been lost. His body froze as Subaru's mind raced with the shocking thought that she was truly alive. He squeezed the flower so hard it crumbled, and in a quiet voice, he called out Sigurd's name. Inside Subaru Hosoi's tiny, empty apartment, it was clear he was broke, and no matter how hard he searched online for the blue eyes, nothing came up. Subaru slammed the laptop onto the bed, yet there is no doubt that Segura is out there. She's alive, but she's running away from Kyojo for a reason. Is that really the cause of all this trouble, since that guy wouldn't let anyone rest easy if he knew what was going on? Was Sigurd really the only one to survive that blast? Or were all four of us just as blown away that day? As long as Kyojo is still around and ready to fight, trying to reach him right now is like walking straight into a trap. Plus, I'm powerless right now, so forcing a move would just mark me as a target. And as he stared at the mask and flower on the table, telling himself first things first, Subaru watched his own hand clench in anger before gripping his sword tight, knowing he had to regain his strength, because Hoso's memories showed the player tutorial was starting in just 2 days. He traced the cold steel, his mind racing with the terrifying thought, if only I can make it through this. Subaru's eyes turned hard with determination, promising that as long as they breathe, they would find each other again. Then the scene abruptly jumped to the exam hall lobby. Huga stood with arms crossed, looking like the strictest instructor you could imagine. Just as the candidate finished the hard work, his body was soaked in sweat and totally drained. Huga stepped forward with a voice cold as ice, asking if you were ready to move on, while the terrified man stammered in panic as he stared at the glowing screen. The system alert screamed that I had to challenge the next level, but I refused, panicked that I couldn't solo 3 enemies at once while Huga barked for quiet, groaning that my head hurt and I'd fail him. As the guy vanished in a flash, Huga sighed in frustration and muttered that the kid had barely survived the tutorial, adding that only Isaac Reinhardt's son had cleared level 20 while everyone else looked hopeless. Right before his eyes suddenly locked onto the screen, someone marched inside, dragging a sword along the ground. Huga warned that the name was too heavy for a kid, but Subaru stood stone-cold and ready, knowing that surviving was the only thing that would ever matter. A warning flashes. 2 goblins have appeared, and you must hunt them down. Huga began to speak, trying to start the test properly, but Subaru rushed forward like a blur before he could finish. Huga blinked in confusion, wondering if something had just zipped right past him. Before Subaru could even think about it, the monsters were already gone. He smiled and sighed, realizing after 2 days of testing that this broken body was perfect for his plan, so he instantly accepted the next challenge and decided to rush through the game. Huga gasped in shock as she rolled to the monster's severed head lying at her feet. He stared in horror at the screen, wondering what on earth was going on. Huga froze and studied Subaru's moves, his eyes widening as he realized it wasn't just a wild swing. He's thinking 2 steps ahead, but then he realizes the enemy is actually 3 steps ahead of him. Subaru's grip tightened on the blade as his muscles flexed under the tension, leaving Hugo stunned and realizing this kid must really be the legendary Subaru Narukami reborn, because no one else could move that cleanly. His sword moved so fast, it looked like a blur, cutting through the monsters with perfect accuracy. Subaru's eyes turned to ice as he looked over the mess. The system flashed a warning that stage 49 was done, and with a casual sigh from the hero, who didn't even break a sweat, he eagerly challenged the final boss to a fight right then. The very ground beneath Subaru's feet cracked open with a violent shake, bleeding strange, glowing white lines through the darkness. A giant hand suddenly burst up out of the ground. Huga yelled, "Hey, idiot, stop! You aren't Narukami, so back off if you want to live," while the beast's roar shook the entire arena, and the system flashed red to warn that the Goblin King had detected a sacrifice and was now furious. Huga screamed, "Get out now while it's still possible. Fighting the Goblin King isn't brave, it's a death trap, and no amount of skill can make up for such a huge difference in power," yet Subaru didn't even flinch. He grabbed the hilt of his sword, but his voice still cut through the chaos as he refused, only for him to then do the unthinkable and throw his blade onto the ground. Huga grabbed his head in panic, wondering why he'd dropped his weapon and if he'd lost his mind, even as he'd suspected the kid was weird from the start, while the Goblin King charged forward like a freight train. Thwack! An arrow hit the beast hard in its leg. The king's face twisted in shock as Subaru crouched low, a handful of poison arrows ready in his grip, leaving everyone stunned by the sudden surprise. The Goblin King stopped dead, staring at the world as if it had suddenly frozen and broken. Subaru smirked and offered a bet, asking if he'd drop me first or if I'd turn him into a pincushion. Zero hesitation as Subaru surged forward. The Goblin King let out a roar so angry it shook the ground, and he was shouting for a reply. The monster charged with huge legs that ripped up the ground. A giant axe swung down to split him in half, but Subaru was quicker and dodged the clash. He slipped through the attack like smoke, and in that split second he was back in the grueling training he'd endured. Subaru threw a handful of darts that missed the mark, triggering a memory of a girl shaking her head at him and scolding him. "That's not how you throw, Rena. Anything can become a weapon," so she stepped forward to show him exactly how to use it. As she wound up and explained that finding the center of gravity makes it deadly, she snapped it. She hit the bullseye with perfect precision. After snapping back to reality and remembering Rena's lesson, Subaru grinned as his attack tore a hole in the monster's throat and a dozen more punches hammered into its skin. Power comes from spinning fast and aiming true, moving quickly instead of hesitating, which is the arena style that left Hugo stunned from the sidelines while he realized the goblin bodies and loot stay alive until the trial ends, giving him a secret advantage by turning the game's rules against itself in a way he never expected. It's not just swinging a sword. He's learning how to fire guns and turn his loot into bullets, Hugo whispered with a smile, realizing the boy was a true genius. The Goblin King didn't look like a genius anymore. He was now as prickly as a hedgehog. The beast fell down, completely exhausted. Subaru quietly sheathed his sword, looked down at the fallen king, and felt nothing but cold indifference. Take out a devastating slash to finish it off. The system beeped instantly, declaring that you had slain the Goblin King and cleared tutorial stage 50 for the first time. This chill system is just a tutorial, so why would anyone throw a raid boss into the training montage? With your reputation soaring and achievement points in hand, you've just unlocked the tutorial shop to grab this limited time offer. With these 2,425 points in hand, what amazing rewards can I unlock? He was caught off guard again by a shop I never knew existed, even though I was hoping it would open right up. With prices ranging from 5 to 200, I'm walking away with so much money, I'll have plenty left over. He scrolled down and stopped dead in his tracks, realizing he could finally afford the legendary Nameless Demon Sword, a chaotic creation by the blacksmith Kinder that trades the user's life and sanity for a terrifying boost in strength. That's crazy, but it's a weapon that actually eats my health points. Next up is the Temple's Holy Blade, the Sword of Miranda, which costs 1,400 points a buy and lets you fight longer by slowing down how fast you get tired, making Subaru pause and wonder if he should choose the safe, stamina-boosting holy weapon or risk everything with the Demon Sword's raw power. He is stuck trying to choose between two great choices, wondering how to use his points wisely and how to play this game smartly. Then it hits him, a role strategy where he can still swap, triggering a flashing interface that offers skill greed for a cost of 1,400 achievement points. Subaru's eyes go wide as he realizes he's been given the top-tier rank S title, which instantly cancels out all side effects and passive abilities, with the option to upgrade his skills for just 10,000 C. Total shock washed over me, for I'd never seen such a powerful perk, yet combining it with the Demon Sword felt like a terrible idea. It could wipe out the sword's curse, and before you could blink, the system flooded with messages confirming the skill was bought. Greed cost him some points, but buying the blade of the Nameless Demon left him grinning like a devil. He grabs the sword's handle and swings it to find the weight just right, proving his deadly skill and the demon blade are a perfect hellish fit. And since he bypassed the usual dangerous learning curve, the mysterious Proctor Hugga steps up to praise the kid's lucky synergy, while admitting he has no idea what to do next. I have no idea why we picked that exact mix, and honestly, you're probably just as confused about whether it even makes sense. Subaru quickly turns back, and I wonder if I should draw you a diagram to explain it. Suddenly, Hugga's temper flares, and he demands an explanation, wondering if that's really what we're asking before declaring that manners are long gone. You've had enough of this exam, so I'll let it go, though there's no real reason behind it. Hugga just stares him down. My mind is racing with wild thoughts, and I can't believe that little kid actually made Proctor do it. He remembers a skinny kid from his past who was such a huge fan that he asked for an autograph. I don't have an autograph, so I can't give you one. Just say your name, and I'll snap back to reality as the old-timer starts his rant about how kids these days are spoiled gods who disrespect us dinosaurs for thinking we're obsolete. Just like a car, Subaru cuts him off, and he quickly shuts down the conversation, demanding his test results stay private before rolling his eyes at his shallow online knowledge. Hugga suddenly grinned with a wild idea, so I agreed that since he lacked discipline, he'd train me from scratch and build me up from the ground. How about it? Want to join the Knights Guild? Hard pass. Head up to the second floor to watch the television. Wait, hold on. Stop right there on the second floor, but Subaru is already slipping away like a ghost, walking off without even a glance, leaving Hugga to sign defeat and call it a total disappointment. A few moments later, Subaru crashed down into a brand new area. The noise is loud, but come down to the second floor where deep-sea fish from Runeterra are sold as special jerky in the rookie zone, where we have everything from Marshall fabrics to earth leather jackets, and I'm back. I've taken a shot that no one else has ever tried. With the story behind me, I'm ready to conquer it all again. I need to meet the squad and rewrite that nightmare ending we all faced. He finds his private training room to grind skills and test his limits, where an old caretaker asks which floor he's from, and Subaru replies he just arrived while the old man points to room 1 for a straw dummy, but Subaru insists on room 5 instead. As the old man gets cranky and warns that you're wasting cash by not sticking to the first option, he politely asks for just 30 minutes of your time, despite his frustration. He plays the hero in his own drama, and you can't go back now since the system just charged you 50 credits, leaving you with 10,500 remaining. The higher the number, the tougher the room becomes, and he's absolutely right. Strolling in with nothing but the clothes on your back is like walking right into a trap. But he steps in without a second of hesitation, ready to kick off the grind. The moment has arrived, Subaru locks his focus, and he squeezes the hilt of his sword until his knuckles turn white. A bright red light fills the room as the system beeps, and a nameless magic sword finally realizes its master has returned. All your stats get a temporary boost as you absorb the user's HP and MP. Greed, at level 1, tries to catch the recoil from the nameless magic sword. Just as a tiny bit of health and magic starts to return, Greed can't stop the blade from rejecting him, while his stamina drains quickly and fatigue builds up fast. Just as we expected, the first floor is too weak to handle this beast, but wait a moment. The nameless magic sword sucked all the user's health away. It's a dangerous bet where your power grows the more your health fades. As the system digs deeper, the blade turns deadlier, Then a blinding red light erupts as Subaru runs out of energy. But he knows this wasn't luck. It was all part of his plan. As Subaru drives his blade into the earth and gasps for air like a drowning man, his balance drops by 10,000 credits while his greed skill shoots up. The system window pops up, revealing that greed is now rank E with a new secondary skill that lessens the wear on your gear. But upgrading it costs 20,000 credits, and pushing greed to level 2 lets you fight back against the sword's recoil with only partial success. The blade eats away at his health, yet the power he unleashes grows wild and unstoppable. Subaru's face turns hard as cold steel, his eyes blazing with a fierce, bloody red light. He gets ready to unleash his power and step out to test how strong it really is. Once outside, the old gatekeeper looks bored out of his mind and sighs, thinking he just saw a ghost. I can't tell if I'm dreaming or just losing my mind from boredom. He sees Subaru stumbling out soaked in blood, and the old man rubs his eyes, wondering if that's the kid from room 5, since it hasn't even been 10 minutes, so he knocks and shouts, "Hey, dreamer boy, are you still alive in there?" Silence. He pokes his head inside, and his jaw literally hits the floor. What kind of natural disaster hit this place? The room is absolutely demolished. The scene shifts to Subaru stretching his stiff body as he wakes up from a deep sleep, wondering how long he was out. Sitting up, he studies the situation, realizing that if this were just a normal cursed sword, he would have walked through that room with ease. His body is now completely broken, yet he has managed to tap into the sword's wild power. He checked the status window and saw that Subaru Hasoi from Earth 10 had become a completely different beast, with his strength, agility, stamina, focus, and magic all rising sharply while his fatigue was still low, allowing him to finally wield a magic sword he once couldn't even lift. As the battle flashback plays out, he smirks with pride, realizing that greed and his sword work in perfect harmony to unlock a full set bonus. But the system window reveals a catch. His greed skill is merely rank F, a secondary ability that demands a hefty 20,000 credits to upgrade. With only 50 credits left, Subaru stares at the screen in defeat, wondering if he's truly this broke, only for a blonde stranger to suddenly appear and talk to thin air, claiming he's there to explore the second floor, while Subaru is instantly pulled into a flashback of his rookie days, all while they discuss the high cost of trendy gear before diving right in. When Alexander donated 1,000 credits and triggered the donation alert, it brought back fond memories while everyone cheered thank for his generous gift of 1,000 points. The guy suddenly dumped a cup of water over his own head and screamed, "That stings. Thank you so much," leaving Subaru totally confused and wondering if he was off his meds or going crazy. Subaru's eyes squint as suspicion takes hold. He pulls out his phone to check the feed and asks how people make money these days in this PvP era where 1 in 3 players is now a streamer earning millions, realizing that live streaming is the key. As Subaru scrolled and muttered to himself, the truth clicked. He was live streaming farm donations, which was exactly what that clown had been up to. Isaac steps forward, and while he greets you warmly, Subaru's face goes pale and his body recoils in pure disgust, proving that you never really got along. Isaac keeps pushing forward, shouting, "Hey buddy, I'm talking to you. Don't ghost me in real life because it feels like I'm yelling at a wall." Subaru isn't just awkward. She's lost in deep thought. He stammers, "I actually made it here." Surprise, surprise. Isaac crouches low with a sneer in his voice. "I never thought a pathetic piece of trash like you would survive the test, even the tutorial. I thought the goblin was about to tear you apart, but then it struck him and all his memories rushed back." Subaru's mind flashes back to the moment he was on his knees begging, and he can't help but ask Isaac why. "Why are you doing this to me? Stop looking so serious and make me laugh, because you're driving me crazy. The moment I hear your name, my skin crawls because you can't follow simple orders, so you're nothing but a useless orphan who thinks you're smart while Isaac delivers a brutal kick to your gut after you cough up your pathetic credits. And now shut up and look at that box because that's your new home. Don't leave this place, or if I catch you wandering off no matter what happens, you'll face a hell I'll make sure you remember, and seeing you take such a beating makes me wonder just how stupid you are and why you're hiding in that box." I finally got the guy to shut up after clearing to stage 20, smashing my dad's record, and even having Proctor Hooga call me a true son of Reinhardt. I even picked up a B-rank skill as a bonus, which is the rarest loot from a tutorial, but after all this talk, I'm so thirsty I might just grab a drink. He stops right there, then decides to change his mind. As I head out, just grab me any coffee on the way back, even if it's cheap slop, because Subaru blinked in confusion while Isaac facepalmed at his stubborn refusal to listen. "You've been staring people down and talking back lately. Did you swap bodies?" Subaru didn't even blink when I told him I was broke with 0 credits left, so he just told me to buy my own coffee. As Subaru tries to walk away, Isaac's voice suddenly deepens and tells him to sit, but Subaru just keeps going, secretly thinking, sorry kid, I'm not here to watch your drama. Unless this clown gets in the way of my revenge, then it's a whole different story. All of a sudden, a hand squeezed tight around Subaru's wrist. Isaac's eyes are red with anger, and he's really looking forward to getting your face smashed up again. Subaru gave a chilling reply that made it clear you'd better walk away, or you'll end up with a bullet in your head. Isaac's grip gets harder, making the air feel tense and heavy. He stared with eyes full of deadly anger, warning Subaru, don't get cocky. Subaru knows he can't make a scene in front of the crowd, but Isaac bursts into laughter, mistaking Subaru's caution for fear and teasing him about being a coward who barely survived the tutorial. Isaac steps into Subaru's personal space, staring down at him like he's trash and daring him to fight, before turning away with a mocking laugh and a warning to keep his back turned. Subaru watches him walk away without a care as a friend scoffs, and the system suddenly beeps to show 2 ways for the player to grow. The holographic guide opens up to show the very first challenge, climbing the tower. By sweeping away floors and collecting rewards, players grow stronger all by themselves. To join the tower trials, you pay some credits for the safety of a virtual world where dying just costs you progress, not your life. The second path is hunting, where you face down monsters outside safe zones or clear dungeon floors to grow fast. But since it happens in the real world, one fatal mistake means your life is truly over. Cut to the orc nest where Subaru stands amidst the mess, proving why most players dare not hunt when a safer option exists. Yet he isn't like them, lounging casually atop the carcass of a giant beast he just killed because safety is too slow while the monster lies in a gruesome heap. Danger moves fast, so he grabs a shiny gadget and quickly scans the headlines. A masked figure stands there, making Subaru freeze as he sees the shocking number of 80,000 live viewers watching the Narukami stream. The mysterious streamer is hyping things up, and we're about to crush the third-floor trials. Subaru's face twists in disgust at the thought of how many people will just steal his mask for their own fame. A system message appears, revealing that Narukami is nothing but a sellout who takes 20,000 credits for every clear mission. With a fake grin, Narukami Subaru is at your service, happy to play the clown for a good price and grateful for the 20,000 creds. Subaru's jaw dropped when he saw the mission needed 20 bands to complete. Requests pour in like a flood, with notifications exploding on user screens and lonely wallet poker games and safe asset drop missions popping up everywhere. The masked fraud beams, soaking up the love from everyone, and is about to crush this dungeon for all of you. Narukami Subaru is making a fortune just by turning on a camera, while the real hero is breaking his back fighting literal monsters and risking his life for nothing. He wobbled slightly on his feet, holding out a pitiful handful of 50 credits that felt like salt in his wound, especially since he could see that other guy rolling in cash. Subaru presses his face against the screen, watching the busy scene unfold. He stands up, lets out a long sigh, and suddenly snaps into focus as adrenaline surges through him, ready for one final show. The ground shakes as a huge foot crashes down, and a terrifying horde of nightmares bursts out with bloodthirsty snarls and bared fangs. A warning flashed on the screen. General Orkai had just stepped into the chat. Subaru doesn't even flinch, even without my poison needles this time, because I'm packing something way nastier. The nameless magic sword is drinking my blood to grow stronger, and now that I've mastered it, I can swing it without pain while my eyes burn with the need to finish this fight quickly. The system beeped, the user HP ticked back up, and the mental fog lifted, so now it was time to move. Boom! A boot connects right to the beast's face, and with no time for the trash mobs, he launches into an aerial backflip to rain down destruction, picking them off while they're midair. The boss just stands frozen, staring up at the mess he's about to make. Subaru lands a heavy blow that knocks everyone back. The system is clear, and the Whispering Orc dungeon is now just a memory of the past. He stops and realizes he has to get back into his costume. Looking into the mirror, he whispers to himself that he has finally seen how the game is played, and if he's going to stream, he's going to do it his own way with pure skill. He slides the mask on, reminding himself that he's the only real one here before Subaru spins around and marches out. A notification flashes with the name Narukami, announcing that Subaru is now live. The scene shifts to the quiet office where the only sound is hookah. He stood lost in deep thought, his face set in an intense stare. Her jaw clenches hard, and she snaps. What on earth is going on? Morons, scumbags, and absolute garbage. A whole squad of 5 couldn't even clear that, and you're actually asking if I'm kidding? Zhang Hun walks in slowly, keeping his eye on the sensor beeper that would cost him 1,000 points if it went off, then asks who the troublemaker is this time, while Hoka growls Shibuki's name and Seong Hyun blinks in surprise. She tosses her hands up in confusion, wondering if this Shibukichi is the real Narukami Subaru or just a copycat. But since the original hasn't shown his face, the only way to know who is the real deal is to see who fights the hardest. Literally, everyone and their grandma is cosplaying Narukami Subaru for a quick buck, making Zhang Hyun shudder in disbelief as he asks if the streaming game is officially dead, while Hoka rolls her eyes and reminds him that this platform is the only reason they're eating, even though these clowns don't respect the rules, and even the hardcore tower climbers think it's a joke. Which leads a worried Seong Hyun to lower his voice and ask Hoka why she quit the tower climb for this dump anyway. Bored? She says flatly, asking if it's the same reason you ran, noting that if she had real freedom, she'd do anything else, and then telling him to shut up as Hun flinches, while he insists he quit because he wasn't good enough, staring at the floor because he only climbed the tower to meet his idol, Narukami Subaru, and without that goal, his fire died out. Until Hoka suddenly yells about finding a diamond in the rough, and he sighs asking what now, as another weirdo looks stunned at a brand new Narukami Subaru impersonator. Se-hyun groans in pain, wondering if this painful mess is really what they call talent scouting. A total joke that makes him ask why anyone would watch a Floor 2 stream with 0 views, yet Hoka's eyes are glued to the screen as she whispers, I know. Every time I spot that mask, I can't help myself from hoping it's him. Just like that, 1,000 credits disappeared. Zong Hun crashed to the floor begging for forgiveness, and the system flooded the screen with notifications to start the second floor trial. Your goal is to smash through the first dungeon and get everyone out alive. The pressure on Subaru builds with every kill, turning a routine second floor run into a tense chase where he feels eyes burning into his back just as a new DM appears to ask, what floor is this? As the random user presses on, a nervous rookie mutters, yeah, this is my first rodeo, and the chat explodes with panic before a hideous beast lunges, only for Subaru to snap into action and snatch the monster right by its ugly face. He hurls the object flying far away. The system pinged that the one-eyed bat had been defeated, awarding a single point for the victory. Subaru stops and asks if there's a problem. Then the system starts the first challenge. Clear the rookie dungeon, kill the enemies, and earn points based on how many you take down. The chat floods in, the brothers' reflexes are gone, and then people start pouring off the second floor. I catch them trying now and then, but they always throw in the towel the second they realize no one is watching. Don't be greedy. Just wait for the party to sweep you up. Subaru spoke up with a cool smile, saying he appreciated the money advice, but firmly refused to take it. He flashes a grin, says he likes running alone, and though the chat is confused, he insists on it. Did you even do your homework, bro? Because he's totally cooked, and rookies these days can't even play. Subaru drives deeper into the woods, and the name Narukami alone draws the crowd in without me even trying, until a salamander suddenly slips out and moves straight toward him. His hand flies to his sword hilt. In a split second, he wipes it away like it was nothing, but now I'm curious just how far I can push this. The system updates, the mud monster falls, and points are awarded just as the chat explodes with questions about what really happened before one-eyed bats suddenly swarm him. He flows through the action with a wild, lightning-fast speed. Right now, nothing is touching him, so what was that glitch and what just happened? The system beeped instantly, announcing the one-eyed bat was gone and earning me 2 points, while the mud monster's defeat doubled my score. Subaru talks to the stream, showing how audio cues reveal the direction and number of enemies, while the chat quickly agrees and challenges him to prove he isn't just showing off easy tricks. Comments pop up from people who can't even do what normal players can, but it all just comes down to raw skill. So stick to your own content, bro, though trying to chase fame with that Subaru Narukami name is a bit much, haha. Subaru ponders, knowing the current stash isn't enough, so he must pile on as many achievement points as he can before he pulls the trigger on the extraction. The chat replies, asking if you've been bluffing this whole time, but real men always move in silence. With no research, walking straight ahead meant getting beat down, but Subaru suddenly froze in the cavern, slowly tilting his head as his eyes locked onto a massive colony of one-eyed bats clinging to the walls. One pupil swells with crimson light, then another, until a vast ocean of red eyes wakes up. Just like I predicted, he's been totally defeated, so let's meet you back at the respawn point. A system alert popped up for user Maloney's stream, challenging them to wipe out the entire group to earn a reward of 100 reputation points. Subaru stood frozen, lost in thought as he weighed his next move. The chat went wild. Was that a savage setup? Haha. After staying quiet for so long, Subaru finally spoke up on Yuni's stream and thanked everyone for the free 100 rep points. A fist slammed down hard on the desk, turning the knuckles the color of bone. Se-hun screams in panic, wondering where he went wrong after cruising smoothly to the 6th floor before suddenly choking, begging for his money back, and then apologizing for being too reckless. Hookie stares glued to her glowing phone screen, while Zeong-hyun tilts his head in confusion, asking what she's watching before her tone turns serious to warn him that something is wrong, causing Zeong-hyun to panic and promise she can pay him back if he ever touches gambling again, only for Hookie to sharply cut him off and tell him that's not the issue. Her voice trembled like a leaf in the wind, and Narukami Subaru gave a confused glance, as if asking, "Are you still watching that stream?" Suddenly, his face grew dark as he looked down, but he couldn't believe what he saw. Comments poured in, with people shocked that a rookie on floor 2 was causing such chaos and feeling sorry for the bats, while Zhang Haiyan whispered in amazement about how many he had soloed. One-eyed bats swarmed him like crazed maniacs, only for Subaru to slice through the air with his blade and drop them down with zero effort. The chat scrolled past as you offered an explanation that felt like telling someone walking involves moving their feet, leaving me wondering if you're really just a floor 2 rookie trying to teach me a lesson from above. Subaru sighed at the trouble of talking, then saw a message reminding him to grab his reputation points, which made him blink in sudden, silly realization. Subaru tapped his fingers frantically to grab the points while the chat room roasted him, making him scratch his head in real life and wonder if he was lagging or just doing something wrong. Another comment popped up, saying that besides his crazy skills, this guy has never watched a stream before. Tap the accept button at the top of the chat window to start your mission. The mission was done, and I earned 100 points from Maloney's stream, so Subaru answered right away with a big thank you. He pushed deeper into the dungeon, knowing the next room had to be the last one. The screen showed his numbers, 150 points and 118 achievements. Suddenly, a sharp scream tore through the air and bounced off the walls outside. Hasuki gasped, her wide eyes filled with panic as she stammered that this was terrible, while Zeong-hyun gritted his teeth and clamped his hands over his ears, yelling that only she was in trouble and demanding to know what she had seen, but Zeong-hyun just grimaced and told her she was way too upset over something as small as the 2nd floor. Hookie jumped to his feet with shining eyes, admitting he was overreacting before panicking and waving his hands to say sorry. Her face turned bright red with excitement as she asked where I was from, and I replied that I'm Subaru Narukami from Earth, wondering if this moment was truly our destiny. Could she be the reborn Subaru Narukami, living out that classic story she'd read about in comics? Zeong-hyun scowled and muttered to himself, noticing how feral the girl became whenever Narukami was mentioned. Hookie kept rambling until he felt dizzy and his eyes started to close, which made Se-hun flinch, prompting Zhang-hun to interrupt and ask if she was thinking about scouting him. Hookie screamed in anger and argued back, claiming that despite his flashy moments, he's just a rookie and a lonely streamer, but she cut him off instantly while sighing in defeat, knowing that telling the section chief would just get them chewed out again after she earlier gambled on him and questioned why he was so serious now. Her cheeks puffed out with frustration as she muttered, "Just you wait and see." Hookie's eyes snapped back to Subaru with fierce intensity, and suddenly the ground around the boy began to shake. He put his hand on the wall to mark where the dungeon finally ended. The huge doors groaned as they slowly swung open. Subaru stood his ground with pure confidence while the werewolf sat there sleeping, causing the chat to explode with Seeger's panic and secret tales of wiping the opponent 8 times until the system finally acknowledged the beast. Passing through the gate keeps the challenge going, Subaru thought, realizing the werewolf isn't a hunting monster, but a gatekeeper testing your strength to conquer the rookie dungeon and prove you're worthy. So he slowly shifted his gaze to the side to check the screen. Subaru's face froze in surprise, muttering, "What? 3,000 reputation points." The chat scrolled with another rude guy showing up, laughing at the idea that he'd ever donate or care about the budget cuts, since this isn't even a monster to kill. The war werewolf's completely black eyes slowly opened, a deep scar cut right across its fur just above the eye. The system swiftly announced Werewolf Seeger, the guardian of the 2nd floor. It let out a long, heavy breath and asked, "A player, huh?" But Subaru didn't hesitate a second, simply raising his sword. Seeger then praised him, saying he was skilled because even while moving his blade, his breathing and focus never wavered. Subaru looked puzzled as the wolf kept talking about blade direction, and when Subaru admitted he wasn't actually thinking but just dropped a line about holding back, the others chuckled awkwardly, while Subaru's mind raced with the idea that combat is just aggressive communication where you lock eyes and attack a swarm of one-eyed bats without wasting time on precision. When those bats charge, they smash into you with their heads, so you should use the crowd to your advantage by creating gaps between them to hit them one by one. The system ping sent a message that earned the werewolf's approval. The wolf's eyes snap wide open in total shock, and the beast lets out a low grunt as it stands all alone. You really came all alone here? Subaru asks in a voice cold as ice, noting your sharp eyes while the wolf warrior steps right up to your face, sniffing the air and declaring you an entertaining and mighty fighter. Chat turns wild as Subaru glares, noting that the Wolf Clan warriors don't just smell sweat, but now he smells like a dead goblin instead of trash, proving the warrior's scent is truly great. They sniff out your soul and see your truest self. The wolf speaks, you're worthy, and you pass. The test is done, so you can leave now. The chat scrolls by so quickly that the NPC suddenly starts acting all nice and saying he doesn't discriminate, leaving us wondering why this weird new behavior just popped up out of nowhere. Subaru scratches his head, thinking, this never happened in my last playthrough, but don't worry, I'm here for you. To which the wolf tilts its massive head before Subaru nods and confirms, yep, someone's paid to take you out, only for the wolf to realize, of course, only a great warrior's soul would accept that contract, while back in a sun-drenched downtown office. Hasuki and CEO Hune are sweating bullets and tapping their desks in frustration, wondering what this Titan Entertainment department head John Taylor wants from a streamer and what the viewer count is. Gong Hun forces a painful smile, but Hookie cuts in sharply, making him realize there is no way out. She looks as happy as someone who just won the lottery, but the guy thinks she's over 30 and says, shut up, you idiot. John snatches up his glasses in a fit of rage and demands to know if they are just messing with him. You think I don't see you wasting company time on a nobody with only 20 viewers when I asked you for a real prospect? Hookie's eyes slide down as John snaps at her, yelling that she should just stream since she has real skills and would actually get fans, until she points out that he just broke 40 on the monitor, leaving John grimacing and asking if she's even listening to him back in the dungeon. Subaru doesn't back down, even when the war werewolf attacks. The monster lifts a giant, clawed arm that shines in the light. Subaru's hand grips the hilt tighter, clearing his mind of all thoughts until nothing remains but focus. A warning flashes. The nameless demon sword is sucking up your mana, but every bit of stamina you lose makes your stats grow stronger while the special power stays active. With a calm heart, Subaru steadies himself as the system alerts him to a level up that wipes out the nameless demon's sword side effects. His eyes shine with a spooky light, glowing for the first time. Thoughts disappear as the werewolf leaps, forcing Subaru to react instantly with a clang of steel against claws, only for the beast to keep striking in a furious frenzy while he struggles to stay on his feet. Subaru jumps back and gasps for air while Guy, like a huge tank, charges in to crush him by force. The wolf stares hard, studying the real warrior before him. The beast changes its footing, getting ready to run again. It talks, but you're not on my level. Subaru grips his sword so tightly that he won't let it go. The chat went wild, but this mercenary build is just lame because that wolf is too broken and the stats are totally unfair. Maybe it'll take 2 or 3 tries, and the person who made this quest will regret it, but Na is confident he can do it, even if it's going to be tough. Subaru is pinned against the wall, panting and lost in thought. While brain beats brawn, the werewolf grins and says, you interest me, little warrior. The claws reach up, and now it's time to make this fight end. A giant arm crashes down like a deadly blade, smashing everything in its path. Subaru twists his body right at the very end, just like I predicted. You're sending out so many signals that anyone can guess what you're doing next. With a sharp slash, Subaru's blade sinks deep into the wolf's chest, bringing the beast to its end. With a spray of blood, the beast crumbles to the ground, but Subaru keeps going, leaping into the air and slashing hard to tear the werewolf apart without breaking a sweat. Subaru quietly slips his sword back into its sheath at his side, while the werewolf looks up and gasps, a perfect warrior. The system flashes a warning. Flood and werewolf are vanquished. You've reached level 12, gaining 2 points of strength, 1 of agility, and 1 of focus. Magic went up by 2, and you just earned 500 achievement points. Chat explodes with wild guesses about whether he clapped, froze, or died standing up, all while calling the stream incredible and wondering if this is really his first run. Subaru flashed a smirk as his pants gave way, showing he was definitely done for. The chat scrolls by while you take on the solo run, cap in hand for the quest giver who laughed at the kid, with only 56 viewers watching. The system alert blared, confirming the mission was done, and 3,000 reputation points were added to my tally from the bossy group. So Subaru stepped forward to make them count. The system updates, and now your reputation stands at 3,150. With 61.8 achievement points now earned, the gate creaks open and Subaru carefully steps forward into the dazzling light. Suddenly, he stops dead in his tracks, feeling that someone is about to kill him. The chat room erupts with chaos as panels of the system multiply rapidly, swirling before Subaru's eyes. Chat freaks out by offering 13 options, breaking the previous record of 6, and making you wonder if this is a new high score tied to your talent, all while asking if you're ready to challenge the Thunder trial. Chat pumps him up with pure fire, and if he doesn't grab Thunder, he might as well pick a new name. Subaru pauses for a moment before finally speaking, and I pick it. In a flash, the system gives the all-clear for the Thunder trial. Subaru glows with a powerful electric aura all over his body. Hooky stays glued to the screen, watching every single move. Everyone erupts in excited laughter as Hooky points at the screen, shouting that we actually hit 60 viewers and unlocked a mind-blowing 13 quest options instead of the usual 2 or 3. John drops his voice, marveling that a rookie streamer on the second floor is actually taking down an unbeatable werewolf, but knowing there is still much to talk about. Hooky grins with excitement at the idea of placing a bet, but he blinks in surprise when the chief actually suggests it. She goes on to say that if he can't handle the Thunder, she and Xiong Hyan will take a steady job for 5 years. But if he succeeds, you must sign him right away with no arguments. Se-hun starts complaining, asking why he's stuck in this with a stranger he barely knows. John chuckled, wondering if reaching the trial was enough when Subaru Narukami was the only one who ever truly mastered Thunder. Hooky answers with confidence, saying there's no way to know unless we give it a shot. John crossed his arms and said, "Fine, I'll take that bet." Hooky swiftly covers Zhang Hun's mouth, but I don't. The system screams a warning that the Thunder trial is beginning. Subaru glares and mutters, "This is," just when a sudden shout of "watch out" knocks him flat with a tackle from out of nowhere. Suddenly, a huge boom blasts from behind. Falcon is panting hard as a giant piece of the machine looms behind him, and he shouts at the dazed Subaru, "What was that? Do you have a death wish?" Then, a system update appears. Defeat the giant fragment. Subaru is stunned by the stranger's sudden appearance, just as a massive chunk grits its teeth and stares down, sparking a frantic chat about whether this is the Thunder trial or simply a monster from the giant clan that spawned all wrong. Subaru realizes the boss monster was supposed for the second stage, wonders if something shifted since he took down Rex, then watches it slam its weapon into the ground before Subaru vanishes and walks slowly, sighing that it's just big with a structure far worse than Rex, and feels lucky to already know these facts. Falcon sprints over to tell me that after I got in trouble saving you, I must run now. Subaru grips his hilt tighter, knowing he must finish this quickly before others interfere. When a nameless demon's sword soaks up your blood, your power grows stronger with every drop it drinks. Now that you've reached level 2, the cursed side effects of the demon sword are gone. Right now, Subaru refuses to back down, standing his ground against the giant fragment. He suddenly steps wide and locks into fight mode. The fight is fierce as the giant fragment brings its massive weapon down with enough force to crush bones. Subaru lands with a perfect touch right when it was needed. But the monster doesn't stop. It charges again and again, while Falcon looks up at the sky and sees Subaru drop from the air to slash right at the beast's head with no hesitation at all. With a single hit, the giant piece of rock let out a loud, painful cry. Subaru's eyes turned pitch black and cold as he stared at you, clearly annoyed by your loud noise. He clutched the handle tight while staying silent forever as the beast forced its head up and blood flew everywhere. Its eyes drooped shut. The fight is over, and the system blares an alert. You just smashed the giant piece, cleared stage 4, and everyone in the chat is going crazy because you've already won. The system blared an alert, instantly boosting you to level 15 and pumping up your strength, agility, health, and magic power by 1. You earned 4,000 achievement points from the giant's heart and thunderous chat loot, which seems like generous back pay for stages 1 through 4 after you perfectly cleared the werewolf from stage 1 to 3. Falcon steps up to Subaru, stunned, and says, "You are." The chat lights up with laughter. Someone jokes if that was Falcon, and another agrees that anyone would panic if a monster spawned there. Falcon gasped in shock at this stranger, but Subaru remained as cold as ice and looked down with dark eyes to declare, "I am here to kill giants." Suddenly, the whole town falls into deep silence. With almost no one around and only nervous guards patrolling, Subaru sits alone in a quiet room, his eyes glued to the screen. Chat wants to see the loot, so Subaru reaches into his inventory to reveal the system alert that might just be magic tier or rare. A rare ring carved from a giant's beating heart. This accessory pumps up your health and heals you faster. Subaru thinks to himself that those accessories are valuable treasure and a health boost that he would love to find. He casts a quick look at the floor and thinks he needs armor after all. A system alert flashes as you find a thunderous rank rare armor that boosts your defense by 5, channels lightning power, grants a once daily active skill, wipes away all bad effects, and still has 3 charges left. We found the chat sick even with usage limits, which works until floor 5, but getting the giant's heart is impossible right now since it's a priceless in-game item. The Subaru slams on its heavy armor right away, and the system blares an alert. Narukami, Noah takes on the quest and earns 5,000 reputation points. So if you choose the Thunder Magic, pour everything you have into it. Subaru nods solemnly to Noah and Narukami, showing deep respect. A system warning flashes as Imbin accepts a quest. Then Al jumps in to earn 5,000 points for the same mission, followed by Mr. Villain grabbing 3,000 points for his turn. Chef Essence sets a new quest for my love, promising a reward of 7,000 reputation points. Subaru steps forward, thanking the group and promising to show them what she's really capable of. Everyone is buzzing with excitement about Thunder Magic, and you can feel the energy crackling in the air like an approaching storm. Perhaps he is the chosen one, far more important than he realizes. Just then, a voice came from a hall saying, "Come in," and with a laugh, I pressed my ear to the door, guessing he was up to something too. Falcon and the man next to him, Pellis, walked in together. Falcon smiles, apologizes for the delay, and introduces himself as the village's knight captain, Sir Pellis. Giant attacks are getting worse, so the knights must stay on guard day and night in full armor, locking down the whole area and banning all travel except when it's absolutely necessary to keep everyone safe. I never thought an outsider would just show up, and certainly not now. Pelia stepped forward and said, "I heard you held us safe while I was away, and on behalf of our whole village, I want to say thank you." Subaru cut him off, but he didn't need to explain since he had already done what had to be done. "Pellis, you are the face of this village, the brave knights standing up to the giants. And now that our scouts found the giant chieftain, he is begging you to join their suicide mission to corner it so you can save the village." Subaru stays quiet and just stares at Passus while the chat goes wild, with people screaming for Pilius not to die and others begging to stop the spoilers. Subaru winces in his head, convinced that Pellis will turn to dust in the next stage. He slowly raises his hand with his chin high, a brave smile lighting up his face as he decides it's time to take the plunge and says, "Let's go." Pellis beams with joy and shakes the other's hand firmly, saying, "Thank you so much." The system screams a loud warning and throws the world into level 5 survival mode. The whole squad walks together like a clock, their boots beating time under the red glow of a setting sun. Subaru stares at a screen as the viewer count soars and the chat blurs into a frenzy he can't possibly follow, until Bellows suddenly freezes and throws up a hand. "Hold it," for Falcon's face darkens as he points straight ahead, where a massive, muscle-bound monster blocks the way with Bellows, the giant chief, stepping up to draw its attention while Benefactor is ordered to flank it from behind, only for a hand to suddenly clamp on a Subaru's shoulder, forcing him to grit his teeth and snap his head back to see that the earth is violently shaking beneath them as Bellows and his crew panic. But Subaru sharpens his gaze to lock onto the threat and realize it is not human. The chief's eyes go wide with shock as the beast slowly turns its head to the side. Enormous shards suddenly pop into existence and charge forward with wild, crazy energy. Bellows watches from afar with wide, shaking eyes as a giant hand reaches down to crush him. Death is right in front of them as the giant shard looms closer with a sinister grin, sending sheer terror through the group until their formation shatters and everyone screams to run back to the mountain base. The giants let out a rage-filled roar and slammed a huge fist down, smashing a victim straight into the dirt. A roar of screams rises as one man lunges forward only to get slammed to the ground by his own teammate. "Don't do it," as the monster lifts a hand while the man cries out in despair, and Brother Votrin Bello stands firm behind him like a shield, spinning to bark orders. That is a direct command to get out of here. His voice roars like thunder to snap them out of their trance, and he reminds them to think of their families and village, declaring that this isn't the end but a time to rebuild, so they finally wake up and run. Bello steps back to hold the line by himself, while he passes the duty of leading Falcon to all of you. He turns his head, bumps into a shadow, hears Bello scream for us to leave and rebuild the order, sees Subaru coolly unsheath his blade, and I realize that was actually my line. Subaru walks past him, noting that you aren't planning to run, which leaves Bellows blinking in total confusion and wondering what you're talking about. Subaru waves him away, shouting that he's blocking the path and that staying here means they'll both die. With his face about to burst, Subaru roars at the outsider to run because he can't let someone else get hurt. That's it for now. Bello sprints away with one final look back as I go to gather the warriors and hold the line until he returns, but Subaru ignores the plea, eyes locked on the horde while Bello screams thanks from the distance, vowing to survive this battle, because he owes me his life and simply wants me to stay safe. The horde of monsters suddenly breaks loose and lets out a roar so loud it shakes the ground. Subaru charges forward with no fear, his blade wreathed in pitch-black energy, slicing deep into the giant's leg and causing the titan to wobble on the brink of falling, which instantly warns the rest of the pack as they hear their kin screaming and turn to look. Subaru casually wipes sweat from his brow as a system window pops up, granting him 20 points for defeating 2 giant traces, and his eyes glow crimson as he slices through another one, muttering that even if this is just a test, he hates being left behind. While back in the forest, Bellowo sprints full tilt before skidding to a halt with burning lungs and heavy breath. Looking back at his path with guilt washing over him as he clenches his jaw so tight he could crack a tooth. Back with Subaru, where the conversation is going absolutely wild. He's not really trying to fight because it's just suicide, but if he chases that tank away, he'll lose points since the game is rigged and only counts how many warriors survive to escape. Subaru gasped, his heart pounding as he realized he could save everyone by letting Bellowos die right here, just like the script demanded. As Subaru plans his next move, the giants go crazy and rush at him with a loud boom. Subaru lands a strike that ends the fight in one hit. After you defeated the giant, you earn 10 achievement points. He spins on his heel and vanishes another one. You just beat the giant and earn 10 achievement points. Subaru sees that the nameless demon sword sucks away his power, and the stronger the bonus he gets, the more energy the sword demands. He carefully removes each piece like a slice of cake, his hand trembling as he grips the sword hilt tighter, wondering just how long he can keep the demon's power inside it before it breaks him. I need to climb up high so I can see the boss. He quickly climbs over the giant's fallen body to get a better look. The other giants stare right at him. Subaru soars through the sky while the monsters below open their huge mouths, waiting for him to fall into their hungry weight. A giant monster opens its huge mouth to grab him from the sky, but Subaru doesn't swing his sword. He just stomps straight down on its ugly face. Subaru treats the giant's face like a set of stepping stones, parkouring his way up as the chat goes crazy, knowing that one slip means he's done, turning aerial combat into his playground while he tunes out the noise to hit level 2 and neutralize the nameless demon sword's backlash, leaving him with fully recharged stamina and mental strength thanks to lower drain and better gear, until his eyes suddenly widen as he locks in on the target he must find before he burns out. He catches a glimpse of the monster far off, and then the thing itself speaks back, "Found you." The monster stares right into his eyes and throws out a cruel, mocking laugh. Subaru doesn't wait. He plunges right in while the giant charges its huge weapon. Subaru's mind spins wildly in the air, knowing that if he doesn't take me down in one strike, he's done for. The giant lifts its heavy club with a grim look in its eyes. Subaru looks like a statue on the outside, but inside he is silently begging for the engine to start and the car to finally work. Snap! The crack of the sound fills the air, instantly wrapping Subaru in a blinding golden light as thunder crashes across the battlefield. The giants shrink back, grabbing their heads and covering their eyes as pain tears through them. Shrieks of pure terror ripped from their throats. Even the boss throws down his weapon to shield his face before glaring up and roaring, but Subaru, a human, dives down like a hawk with a blade aimed straight for the monster's head, and the nameless demon sword greedily swallows his magic power. His eyes burn with a red glow as the blade flashes with deadly light. The blade pushes forward and goes deep into the target. The monster's eyes pop wide with shock as blood sprays in a gruesome fountain. The giant stares in disbelief before tipping backward and letting gravity pull crash down. The titan crashed down to dust while the rest of the mob writhed in pain, leaving the seed windows to pop up wildly as the game celebrated stage 5 survival with a perfect score. Level up, and suddenly the chat goes wild as he soloed the boss with stats that look completely cracked, leaving everyone wondering if the game just got way too easy. He smashed the impossible, a master of glitches, while I felt so weak and frustrated by how easily he outplayed my character. Subaru's lungs are burning so bad that if this were a normal magic show, he'd just strike a cool final pose. But nope, the sky turns pitch black and lightning flashes wildly. As the giants awaken and drop their hands, Subaru lifts his sword in shock, realizing that reaching level 2 didn't erase the deadly curse on his blade. He sways unsteadily, barely holding on to his balance, right? Even with the goal done, the dangerous mobs won't vanish until the timer runs out, and the trick he used to farm XP is finally going to come back to haunt him. Blood trickles from under his mask as Subaru stares at the towering giants before him, realizing with dread that this is going very wrong and his battery is finally dead. Then, right out of nowhere, the sky tears open. Golden lightning slashes down from the sky and hits the ground, so bright it stuns him. Boom! Subaru gets hit directly, and the explosion scares the giants back. But in another forest, the sky is blue and birds are chirping. The golden sunlight slips gently through the leaves above. Deep in the woods, a treehouse waits hidden among the leaves. A girl sits out front, her eyes locked on something that has caught her attention. She stares so hard at the gadget in her hand that she doesn't even blink. Seeger stepped out of the cabin and spotted her right away. He walks up to her and asks what she's doing out here, but she ignores him completely and just says the weather is nice and the air feels fresh. Rena kept her eyes down, so I might as well take a moment to appreciate the view. Sager gazes up at the sky, wondering if the moment is nearly here, so she stops for a breath, knowing it won't be long, perhaps just a year tops. He looks back at her, wondering if now is the moment to finally put an end to everything. She falls quiet, Seeger sighs helplessly, and calls you weird for zoning out while we talk about the apocalypse. He moves closer to watch her scream, wondering what has you so hooked, just as she pauses to reveal the answer. Right now, there's a flow of Subarus, and the one driving by is named Subaru Murakami. Seeger snaps, but Subaru isn't the one you're thinking of, so take a deep breath. A nervous streamer named Subaru Narakami just stole the spotlight, making the live chat go wild with his amazing moves while Rena stammers in disbelief that this newbie is so good. Then shift gears to the serious stuff, because you see it too, don't you? Xena's voice broke with frustration as she screamed at Tiger that the tower would have eaten Subaru alive long ago, leaving Tiger calm and confused, while Xena's angry flush deepened as she demanded he accept the hard truth that Subaru was dead. Tiger didn't wait for the rest, spun around on his heel, and shouted, "I'm done," causing Xena to panic and cry out, "Tiger, wait." She leaped out of her chair, screaming, "How long are you going to hide in that kid's shadow?" He spun around, his face twisted in annoyance while muttering, "Look who's talking." He grabbed the device right out of her hands, and that's exactly why you're in this mess. Xena tried to argue, but he slammed the screen in her face and insisted he was just passing the time. Her eyes locked onto the screen, and what she saw made her let out a blood-curdling scream. "Huh?" Tiger snatched the device back with a scowl, muttering, "What now?" until his eyes landed on the screen, freezing him instantly as he saw it was him, Subaru. On the screen, the kid stomped so hard the ground cracked, sending a huge burst of energy that lit up the whole dungeon. The pressure was so crushing that the giants were stuck like glue, unable to take a single step. Just then a system alert popped up. You learned how to summon lightning instantly and earned 2,000 points, so now you must decide whether to keep fighting this challenge or head up to the next floor. The chat room exploded with chaos, leaving everyone staring in shock and asking, "What happened?" "No way, that's insane, so that's how you unlock it, and the difficulty scaling is totally broken. You're asking how to summon lightning? Just slap the giant boss, it's that simple." And Subaru Narakami stays quiet, because even if I showed you the way, you wouldn't be able to pull it off while he looks down with thoughts racing through his mind. Normally, this power shouldn't exist here at all. The system window flashed with specs, revealing a lightning rank A+ first-tier skill that lets you channel thunder at the cost of stamina and mana, and can be improved by collecting lightning shards. Subaru stared at the panel, let out a breath, and realized he hadn't died, so the sudden pause in the challenge had literally saved his life. A wall of donation alerts flooded his eyes. Subaru spoke up right away and thanked everyone. He glanced at his score of 20,150 reputation points, reminded the crowd of his promise for a show in exchange for gifts, then signaled the start of the challenge as the giants shook off their paralysis and roared like demons while charging forward. Subaru's eyes sharpened like a blade, ready to show you something awesome. You spent 20,000 reputation points to push your greed skill from level 2 up to level 3. He held up a hand crackling with raw power, letting the blazing lightning surge through his arm, so bright it looked like a supernova, and shouted for anyone nearby to come get some. He stood his ground, arms crossed tight like a fortress, while the monsters rushed him with a hungry snap of starving tigers. Just as the monsters raised their giant fists to smash him, Subaru grinned and gripped his sword with both hands, pouring lightning into the blade until a deadly red glow surrounded him before he swung it down with all his might, just like in the old days. No matter where that blade swung, it cut giants right in half. Nothing got away. Subaru's deadly slash wiped everything out, and as the last of the bodies hit the ground, the bright light around him slowly faded away. Subaru gasped for air as his lungs burned, realizing too late that he'd wasted his strength. But as a shocked group froze in the aftermath and Paleo sprinted toward him, Subaru turned just in time to see his savior struggling to stay on his feet. His vision was fading to black, his breath ragged as the world spun around him, just as he spotted Peleos rushing toward him with a mix of shock and anger. Peleos reached out, making Subaru snap his eyes shut and log out, only for a device on a real-world desk to start buzzing. 3 people stood in the room where tension hung thick, and Zhang Haiyan looked up with a trembling voice to ask if they really had to go that far, while John threw his hands up and said, "Don't look at me. I gave up trying to understand women years ago." Hooka buried her sweaty, beet-red face in her hands and panicked, realizing she sounded too cold and wishing she'd added a flood of emojis to save the message. The guy crossed his arms and pointed out that his message looked like a professional business email, asking if I was running a fan club or an agency, to which John nodded and admitted he thought I was trying to manage him rather than stalk him. Hooka slammed her hands down, declaring that before she was ever a manager, she was a hardcore fan who couldn't possibly be blamed for her devotion. Suddenly, she shot to her feet and marched straight for them with clear purpose. And since I already called out that lightning power belongs only to Subaru Narukami, Boss Hisuko confirmed with a firm hand on her chest that this ability is now officially just for Subaru and his team. When I mentioned my safe paycheck, CEO Haiyan let out a heavy sigh, rubbed his chin with a smirk, and realized I was the only one who could handle it. Suddenly, the gadget in his hand buzzed with a message, and Hisuko's eyes jumped to life with excitement as she cried out, "Oh, boss." But CEO Hyun's next words sparked a flicker of anxiety in her, because it looked like Subaru Narukami had just read the message, and the moment he finished speaking, Hisuko turned to stone, left hanging with a cliffhanger while he just stared at it. As both of them stared in confusion at her frozen form, an excited voice suddenly rang out from a room filled with anime figures, where a gamer perched in a sleek high-end chair with a killer PC setup was eagerly waiting to start his live stream and share his deep game knowledge with his many fans. A confident smirk spread across his face, and they called him Hawkeye. Legend says Hawkeye could break down every move of the new top players like Kuruko Amon and Kazuki Kyojuro, a former Blue Eye member now representing the entire Earth, to see if they truly had what it takes to become the strongest. And of course, the legendary legend Narukami Subaru doesn't break the rule. No matter what haters say, the lightning belongs to him. And Hawkeye praised him without holding back, because when you think of a player on a whole different level, this guy is the first one who comes to mind. With a quick tap on the Go Live button, Hawkeye burst onto the screen full of energy and shouted, "What's up, guys? It's your boy Hawkeye here, and thanks for tuning in. Today, we're tearing apart the hottest player right now, Subaru," and the chat instantly exploded with confusion over whether he's the original, a stuck second-floor ghost, or just another copy running out of ideas. Hawkeye wasn't fazed. He clicked his mouse and told the chat to keep the good vibes going before they even began. Hawkeye stared at Subaru's battle footage, stunned into silence as the chat went wild, mocking the newbie until the doubt vanished and he realized this performance was simply godlike. He couldn't stop raving about how perfectly he controlled his blade, channeling every ounce of power into it without waste, which had the comment section going wild and everyone wondering if it was even possible. "What do you mean? Am I the only one lost here? Oh, I see it now. I don't get the mechanics. Just one word. God, if this footage is real, that's insane." Hawkeye had to admit it was pure madness to watch such delicate control and hyper-focus technique, relying on intense concentration and perfect timing, all while making not a single mistake during the raid, leaving him wondering where this unstoppable monster came from and doubting if most people even knew what they were looking at. Before ending the stream, he made a promise that this guy is going to be huge, so I'll keep watching the chat under Hawkeye's next stream, which is already exploding with fans wondering if he's a tank player, asking about a possible collaboration, and noting that while teamwork would be cool, this guy is built different, until suddenly Hawkeye pauses to catch his breath and forgets his signature one-liner. After a long pause, he decides to go all in, proving that in pure microcontrol, he might even be sharper than Narukami at his peak. The screen goes black, then Subaru jerks awake from a deep sleep, staring wide-eyed into the dark. Something is gnawing at him, keeping him from sleeping, and when he sits up, the system chimes to say Stage 6 is almost here with his fatigue completely erased. "Do you wish to postpone the challenge? Subaru,